Jewish Channel's Week in Review. Convicted sex offender Rabbi Baruch Lanner appears to be missing from sex offender registries. One of the most trafficked Jewish websites gets a new home. And there's a new home coming for a legendary pickle shop as well. Plus, the most anti-Semitic video you've seen in a while. And more of the Jewish news that's changing your world in this webcast version of the Week in Review. Hello, and welcome to the Jewish Channel's Week in Review. I'm Stephen I. Weiss. The rabbi who spent 6 years in jail for sex offenses and whose case was the spearhead for a re-examination of sexual abuse in the Jewish community appears to be missing from sex offender registries. Rabbi Baruch Lanner was convicted in 2002 on multiple counts of sexual assault and other offenses regarding minors and was released on parole in 2008. However, Jewish sexual abuse watchdog website The Awareness Center posted a note recently saying it could no longer find Lanner listed on a variety of sex offender registries on which he'd previously been listed. And indeed, a search for Baruch Lanner on the U.S. Department of Justice's Sex Offender Registry produces no result, where an archived copy of the Lanner registration is viewable at the Awareness Center's website. It's unclear why Lanner is absent from these registries, and it's conceivable that this is due to error. However, it is possible, under specific circumstances, for a sex offender to be removed from registries. But as the New York Jewish Week notes, Lanner likely doesn't fall under the usual criteria. The Jewish Week reports it made inquiries with states' attorneys on this issue and hasn't received a response. TJC's own inquiries have yet to be responded to as well. However, when we do receive more information on this, we will report it. Meantime, the Jewish community's handling of sexual abuse is being used by Vatican representatives to suggest the Catholic Church has its house in better order. The Forward noticed a September statement by a Vatican United Nations representative in which he asserted, as the Catholic Church has been busy cleaning its own house, it would be good if other institutions and authorities, where the major part of abuses are reported, could do the same and inform the media about it. The statement went on to suggest that abuse figures for Catholic priests are proportionally the same or less than for the Jewish and Protestant communities. However, there have been no comprehensive studies done to examine this point. And all of this news comes just a couple of weeks after the sentencing of a bar mitzvah tutor in Brooklyn, New York, for his conviction of sexually molesting 2 boys. At the sentencing, the judge addressed not just the crime, but communal attitudes surrounding it, saying that the Orthodox Jewish community in which the convict lived has, quote, a communal attitude that seems to impose greater opprobrium on the victims than the perpetrator. Moving on from accusations in the Jewish community that are based in reality to the world of anti-Semitism, one of the most blatant and heavily produced anti-Semitic videos you'll see recently came out of the Westboro Baptist Church, a radical group that stirs up emotions with slogans like God hates fags and the Jews killed Jesus. Here are some samples from the 4-minute video.
Israel, your doom is coming, makes us so happy, God's promises are sure.
Oh well, he soon is marching, makes us so happy, his covenant endures. The nation standing by, the ensign in the sky, the highways opened up, drink from his cup.
It's not clear how many followers the Westboro Baptist Church has, but somewhat more than 10% of Americans are generally assumed to be anti-Semitic by the Anti-Defamation League, and one won't have trouble finding internet commenters enjoying this video. Well, one Jewish website that launched a number of years ago with a profile of anti-Semitic on the web was recently saved from financial peril. Juicy.com has a new owner, and Christian Needon has our report.
8 months ago, things looked pretty bleak for Juicy.com. Even though it's one of the most trafficked American Jewish websites, it hadn't produced profits. And that meant that the website, originally launched in 2006, would be losing its funding from a group of longtime backers that included billionaire philanthropist Michael Steinhardt. Despite only having worked at Juicy for 5 months, Lilit Marcus volunteered to stay on as the full-time editor without pay, and shortly thereafter was approached by the owners of J-Dub Records about acquiring the website. This week, they announced J-Dub will be acquiring Juicy, and Marcus will now be receiving a salary for her work again for the first time since January.
At first, I thought, these guys run a record label, why would they be interested in Juicy? But the more that we talked about it and the more that I learned about other stuff that J-Dub did, the more logical it seemed. And I really loved the idea of A, keeping Juicy going, but B, keeping it going by attaching it to another really cool and interesting property.
For more about Juicy and J-Dub and how their team expects to be the premier venue for young Jews in the coveted 18 to 34 demographic, see the full broadcast version of the Week in Review.
Thank you, Christian. In the realm of Jewish content, certain movies certainly stand out. And one movie, Crossing Delancey, prominently featured a very famous kosher pickle shop, Guss's Pickles. It's a store that for many represented the old world of Jewish immigrants, at the same time as it catered to many just looking for good pickles. Well, like many before it, it's moving on from the historic Jewish community of the Lower East Side, and Margie Rauhut has the story.
It's a piece of Jewish Americana, a name recognized by many who've never been here and even idealized in a Hollywood film. Nearly 100 years ago, Izzy Guss started selling pickles out of his cart. And throughout the years, even though the neighborhood has evolved and changed, Guss's Pickles has continued offering tourists and locals crispy pickles straight out of a barrel. But in the next couple of months, all that will change. They're moving now to Borough Park. Guss's Pickles is no longer going to be in business here.
No? I'm sad to see. That's a really seems like a very local, traditional store. It's sad to see that.
I think it's sad because where else can you go and get pickles out of a barrel, you know, 2 for $1? I think it's too bad.
It's the best pickles place in New York City. And it's very old too, right? It's been here forever. So it's too bad it's moving. It's just a shame. It should still be able to, we should keep institutions where they belong.
It's upsetting news for many, but the hard facts remain the same. Guss's legendary pickle barrels are moving to Borough Park, Brooklyn. To find out why the owner of Guss's Pickles feels the need to move, and what this deli expert has to say about the situation, see the full broadcast version of the Week in Review.
Thank you, Margie. That's all for this week. For more news and analysis from the Jewish Channel during the week, please check out our blog at newsdesk.tjctv.com. For the full broadcast version of the Week in Review, including additional stories, interviews, and features, please stop by the Jewish Channel on cable. From all of us here at the Jewish Channel, be well. The Jewish Channel is available on cable: IO Optimum Cable Channel 291, Time Warner Cable Channel 528, RCN Channel 268, Verizon Fios Channel 900, and Cox Cable Channel 1. For more information, visit tjctv.com.